Hey everyone, welcome to another Salt Project Community Open Hour. I am Jimmy Chunga. Hey, I'm the community manager. Thanks for joining us, whether you're here live or you're watching via YouTube. Great way for you to stay in touch and in the loop with everything that's happening with Salt and with the Salt Project community. Again, thanks for being here. We've got a lot of people that are out today. They're at radio. We'll talk about that here in a second. But first, here's where you can find us. Salt Project. We are everywhere. I have promised Wayne and Gareth and some others that we'll add the Hacks podcast to this slide. I haven't done so yet. My apologies. You can find us on YouTube, GitHub, Slack, Twitch, Reddit, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. And I want to throw a plug out there for Wayne and his Twitch streams. If you have not attended Wayne's test Twitch streams or any of the stuff he's doing on Twitch, I highly recommend you do so. It's very informative. It's great stuff. You can check the Salt Project community calendar at saltproject.io, and those streams or those times for the streams are available for you there. Today, pretty light day today. We're going to spend a lot of time on Q&A. Yeah, I am sharing the screen. Is it not coming up? Let me try it again.
Yeah, I don't see any screen share. Now I do.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry guys. So there you have it. Today, going to be really focused on Q&A today. We've got a lot of Q&A that's come in through Slack. Gareth sent me a message a couple of days ago and said, hey, why don't we solicit some more questions through Slack and see if we can't answer them in the Salt Project Community Open Hour. And I said, that's a fantastic idea. Let's do it. So we'll move through this stuff fairly quickly. And if any of you have any questions about any of the stuff I'm talking about along the way, please don't hesitate to jump in and let me know. Interrupt me. Go for it. Open hour every first and third Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Mountain Time. I don't know what the UTC is there. Sorry for our friends outside of the United States. I'll be sure to add that on the next one. Our next Salt Community Open Hour will be on May 19th. We'd love to have all of you here. You're all invited. And again, it's a great way for all of you to stay in touch with what's happening with Salt releases, with Salt related issues, and of course, with everything happening within the community. I also want to invite each of you, if you're watching this, and no matter how you're doing it, to join a Salt Project working group. We've got some amazing groups led by one Shane Lee, who's working over a piece of celery, it looks like. Is that celery? Working over some celery. There it is, celery and cheese. Is it cheese or is it hummus?
Hummus.
My goodness. Hummus. All right. He's the Windows working group captain. Also shout out to Elisa Rock. She's the Docs working group captain. And we've got a bunch of others. So again, go to saltproject.io and you can take a look at the working groups there. And the link is there as you see it. So feel free to hop in. We just got through, it just wrapped up yesterday, an internal R&D engineering conference at VMware called Radio. Why is it called Radio? I honestly don't know. I have no idea, but that's what they call it. And they just wrapped it up. It's an internal R&D innovation offsite, as you can see there in the description, brings together VMware's technologists and leaders from around the world in the spirit of ingenuity and collaboration. Salt and Item Project, Salt Project and Item Project were both featured in Radio this year. And if you would like to attend, you're more than welcome to do so. You do have to go register. So I'm going to take that back, actually. You do have to go register, which means you've got to enter your email and stuff like that. Although it is an internal thing, guests are allowed to attend. So there's a lot of stuff there about open source technology, emerging open source R&D, things like that. Tom Hatch led a breakout session while he was there, which was received very well, which was called the Trinity of Open Source. You're all invited to go check that out if you'd like. I found it very informative. There were a lot of props to our Salt core team, Salt Open community, and open source in general. So there you have it. The Trinity of Open Source creates a model to drive a new unified strategy that can be used to support open source initiatives, drive revenue, and own ecosystems. Basically, what the Trinity of Open Source focuses on is open source software as a free project being used by corporate entities. So pretty interesting stuff. If you're so inclined, go check it out. And now I'd like to turn it over to one Thomas Phipps. for an update on what's happening in the community forums.
Basically, it's been pretty light lately, but this question came in, somebody asking, what's the quickest way to like configure for the MySQL modules or some of the other modules out there that have configurations? Most of the time, people put those configurations in a config file and have to restart, but you don't have to do that. Most of the modules use a module called config.option to grab the configurations on the fly and can pull it from Pillar or from Grains. So you don't have to restart your minion for most configuration settings. Master, yeah, you still do, but the minions, there's very little you actually have to restart for. And it's one of the few times I say, go ahead and put it in pillars because it's most likely going to be security data with passwords anyway. So that was pretty much it for this one.
All right, very good. No, I appreciate you taking the time to let us know that. Again, we're a little light today. A lot of projects are still in the works. The new Salt Project website, release updates. There's stuff happening with CVEs and all kinds of stuff that we will be announcing and sharing with you in the coming weeks. Onboarding guides, all kinds of good stuff with docs, but they're all still in flow. So we've got more updates coming up for you soon. Let's go to Q&A really quick, or as I like to call it, Nick time. Before we get into Nick time here, I did solicit per Gareth, which is a great idea, some questions on Slack, and a lot of those questions were answered. I know Gary Geeson had some, and there were several others that had some. A lot of these were answered. However, there was one question that I'd like to float to all of you, if that's all right, before we get into Nick time here. It says from Manny. By the way, Manny says, hey guys, I'm trying to figure out how I can get the body of an API call assigned to a Jinja variable. However, the value that goes into the Jinja variable adds additional text like requested, there's a bunch of other stuff in here. How can I just get the raw text from the API result? Anybody have any answers to that? Can we answer Manny's question? Anybody?
HTTP query and then have it set to decode and tell it to decode JSON. And then you want to parse down the body and to the variables to the particular item you want.
Excellent. And then James had a question. It looks like it may have been answered. Has anyone managed to render the GPG encrypted binary data from the pillar in Salt? I see a few issues in GH about it, but I can't get it to work. Any add-ons there? Anything at all?
Yeah, I think that was already answered, but basically
Okay.
don't go through Jinja. Use contents pillar to pull directly from pillar, because Jinja is going to float it through a bunch of bytes to strings information, and it's going to totally ruin the information.
Excellent. And then I have one more here, and it doesn't look to me like it's actually been answered. So it says, is there an easy way in states to run a command and return true only for specific output? I see that cmd.run has a success_stout and a success_stderr, but those only seem to be available to override a non-successful return. I have a command that always returns true, but I want the state to succeed only if it contains specific output, aside from modifying the command to include a pipe to grep. Is there any way in Salt states? If I need to share that, let me know, because that was kind of
no, I remember this question. Unfortunately, right now, piping to grep is the best option.
Okay. Yeah, looks like Orange Dogs also said, yeah, there is no other way I can see to do that. So, okay, fair enough. Mr. Hughes.
Put in a feature request for it.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
like write your own module would be what I was thinking.
All right, very good. Nick Hughes, question, sir. He's super low. No volume there, Nick. I can kind of hear you.
I feel like my microphone starts to gain traction the more I talk. I'm not sure if there's like some sort of settings that are involved with the automatic adjustment of microphone volume, but is this any better?
Yeah, much better. Just keep talking, dude. You're good.
Yeah, I'll just keep talking and talking and talking and talking. No, I don't have anything today. I feel like I'm letting everybody down. I'm sorry, Chunga.
We booked out the whole hour for you, man. All right. Well, thanks, Nick. No, it's all good. I appreciate you being here. Gary Geeson had a bunch of questions in Slack. Gary, did you have all those satisfied to your liking, or would you take some time?
No. Well, I actually have probably a more pressing question. I've got a multi-master setup with 2 masters. I was using the cache etcd module, but it's got a lot of issues. So I switched back to local FS. The problem, or I guess my question is, can and should the local FS cache be shared between multiple masters, or should I not share it?
It's iffy.
I was gonna say that seems like it would be fraught with peril. You said you were trying to use the etcd cache.
Yeah, and I was having some issues with some minions. There's a few open issues on it. But I was basically having issues with pillar for some minions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you tried with the patches, the most recent changes on master? I can't remember how much ended out getting changed in etcd's cache, but for the phosphorus upcoming phosphorus release, I had gone through and actually wrote tests for the cache API, and I discovered varying amounts of bugs in the different backing caches, Redis, etcd, MySQL. All of them had behaviors that did not quite match what local FS does. And so I wrote a bunch of tests, and now, at least to the best of my knowledge, they all should match up. So I expect that you were probably hitting a lot of those issues that were discovered there. So if you can, it would be awesome to get, like, if you could actually try that out and see if that fixes the issues that you were having, or if there's still any other issues that we need to actually write tests for and address. But
Do you have the PR by chance? Because I would love to try it out.
yes, I can get you the PR for that. I'll drop that in chat.
Awesome.
About the sharing of the cache, if you're running SSC, I would strongly advise against it.
I am not running SSD.
Okay. And then I only slightly advise against it.
Oh, the multi-master tutorial is sort of unclear if it's a requirement for multi-master. So, I mean,
It's not.
It's
Okay.
not. The thing is, you won't be able to have like mine shared between the two.
and probably would that affect pillar targeting for?
As long
for
as they have the same pillars, no, it shouldn't.
Okay.
But yeah, mine won't be able to be shared between the two, so you could end up with weird. That's mostly where the caching came from, is because mine kept having issues and things where you communicate back to the master to get
Okay.
information.
So yeah, so I just like literally 10 minutes before the call switched it back to shared local FS. It appears horribly broken. So I will either try Wayne's patches, or I will switch it to independent local FS. I don't use mine anyway, at least not yet. So I will try one of the two and report back.
The other thing with the shared local FS is if you're using getFS, expect breaking in getFS. And locking, lots of locking.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's what I figured. At least part of the problem might be. That's why I asked. Okay, no, that's great.
Okay, anything else, Gary? No?
Oh, I could go on all day, but I'm not sure I want to monopolize this whole thing. So
Well, listen, I mean, Nick's got nothing, so.
Yeah, take my place, man.
Yeah, let's make this the Gary moment.
The Gary
got
moment.
yeah, well, I've been doing a pretty, I won't say a big salt deployment, but I've been hitting a lot of things and hitting a lot of bugs. So I'm just trying to work through them. I've been playing with the new or the relatively new VMware Salt extension. It has a few issues. ETCD was one of the big ones I hit. I can't remember what else I've hit offhand, but yeah, I'll try this. The Wins ETCD patches out and see how they do.
All right, very good.
I
Very
actually do
decent.
have a random question.
I knew it. I knew if I kept Gary going long enough that something would happen. Yes, Nick.
Yeah, Gary, I can thank you for jogging my memory a little bit on this. So this is sort of like a kind of vague question that I'm hoping some of the smart folks on this call can noodle on a little bit. So we talked a little bit about like reloading configuration earlier on, right?
Right.
Where sometimes it requires a minion restart and things like that. So I recently encountered a situation where like maybe in an initial run after a system is bootstrapped, you're dropping minion configurations, but then you want to like grab those configurations in the ops dictionary inside of Jinja somewhere farther down the road, during like a high state or something like that. So if I drop a minion configuration on the system, and maybe the last thing that I'm doing as part of my high state is triggering a minion restart because of that. That's fairly normal. But if I wanted to like look in the ops dictionary for something that I expected to be there that I dropped there, I can't do that right inside of the same run. So I was looking into it a little bit, right? And there's a really, really old issue open about like handling SIGHUP for reload. And there was a lot of problems surrounding like 0MQ when you do that, right? Like drop packets or something like that was mentioned inside of that issue. I'm not sure if that's still a problem with recent versions of 0MQ, and I was wondering if anybody knew that. And then the other thing that I was thinking about was if there was potentially a need or a use case where something like config.get or whatever execution module could do a like a reload on the fly. I don't think it really speaks to my use case, right? Because the Jinja is going to be rendered before any of my states execute. But I was wondering if anybody else could think of a reason why something like that might be valuable. Like, if you pass like a refresh true to config.get and it's going to go ahead and, like reload from files instead of just looking at the ops dictionary, which is what it does now.
So it could be possible, but it would have to basically reload the ops dictionary itself also. The other thing is, if you want to pull configurations information from the files, you can. They are just YAML. They can be read with just using YAML.
Yeah, the problem is that with any scenario like that for my particular use case, the way that I would normally do that is with Jinja, and because it renders fully in the high state before I do anything, I can't get it inside of the same run that I drop a file.
Right. So you would drop the file, try to read it. And, yeah. Okay.
So it sounds like what you're talking about is something that's been asked for a while, where you can essentially, without restarting the minion, have it reload its config into Thunder Ops, and then you'd be able to like read Thunder Ops. And I know there's been many attempts at doing this, and there's been many problems that have been run into when attempting to do this. So I think the best option is kind of like what Thomas is saying, is rather than is if you need something out of one of the config files, just read it in using like, I don't know, file read or some like other equivalents.
Yeah, I was gonna say from a fundamental perspective, I think it would be good for us to have like I can think of like Nginx. You can send it a reload.
Yeah.
And there's like a number of of servers where you can say, hey, just reload your config. We don't have that functionality right now in Salt. And the way that Salt sub processes run, I feel like that's a non-trivial add. But also I think fundamentally, and just from like a high level conceptual perspective, I think it makes sense. I would like for us to support that. I mean, I'd love us to have that feature, but I think it's one of those things that's like, at this point in time, unless somebody was just really, really feeling zesty and wanted to go tackle that, you know, I don't foresee that being resolved and added anytime in the near future.
I mean,
I do see it being easier for the minion than the master.
Yeah, that's probably an accurate statement.
and there are certain minion configs that you can reload on the fly without having to restart the minion. Like, there's a couple off the top of my head, like beacons and the scheduler. You can reload and like basically replace the config in a running minion. But other things, it gets a little tricky, because I mean, like something like the master that it's connected to, I can think of a whole host of problems that you'd run into if you were trying to do that.
I think the problem is the state though, right? I mean, it parses all the Jinja and the templating first, and then it executes the state, and there's really no refresh after that.
Yeah. That's where the whole registry thing, SEP, that basically we need a new one for, would come in play.
Yeah, I mean, this was just along those lines. This was kind of that was the idea behind what slots were supposed to do. Unfortunately, it never got fully implemented in terms of what it was ultimately supposed to do.
Slots needs a lot of work to be as useful as the registry idea was.
So did we kind of sort of answer your question, Nick, or not really?
Or just put in a lot more problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys reaffirmed pretty much everything that I was thinking, right? Like it's not an easy issue to solve.
Okay, so
Orchestration, maybe.
One way to go. It's usually the way around every problem in Salt.
All right, very good. So I said at the, if there's no other questions, I said at the top of the opening of Open Hour, bless you. We were talking about working groups and Wayne Warner's test clinic that he does on Twitch. You do this weekly. Wayne and I have been slacking back and forth. I asked Wayne earlier in the week if he would take a minute and talk about that, but I didn't know if he was prepared. So we had only talked about it once, so I just let it go. But he's sending me messages, letting me know, hey, you can take a minute, let us know what's happening with the test clinics. So before we get his joke, I'd like, if you're willing, Wayne, take a few minutes, let us know what's happening with the test clinic so people can see what's going on in there and hopefully opt in. You're on mute again, man. Sorry. No, it's still not there.
Yeah, you're not physically muted.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
There you go. There you go. Yes.
That's cool. Zoom has been interesting here lately. It seems like when I mute myself or change my video settings, then when it comes back, I have to go into the settings and unwind and like change settings around. So anyways.
Yeah. Don't get me started.
Yep. All right. So test clinic. This week has been not super terribly eventful. But so today, speaking of API tests, I actually just started working on the returner APIs. I did the cache API this for the phosphorus release, and so one of the things that I've been doing is kind of working through some of these APIs and trying to produce an actual test around the edges so that it doesn't matter what APIs or backends we throw into the mix. We can just start testing those and then actually know if they're going to work or not, if they're buggy, if they're missing chunks of behavior. And then even as well, if you're developing locally, you can actually use that to test as well against your own implementations. So lots of benefits to that. And I've done the cache API one, and so now I just started today on the returner API. So that was interesting, kind of diving into that a little bit more. The other thing that I did is PR 62020, 6/2020. We discovered recently there was a flaky test for SDB. In particular, etcd it was having some bizarre issues. I'm 90% certain that what was happening is because I saw this when I was doing other things locally, but basically what'll happen is because it's running a functional or an integration test, and so the backend spins up a Docker container with etcd, and for some reason, the container will spin up and be available when the service inside it hasn't actually woken up yet. And so our tests are running so fast that they're hitting in that time window when the container's up, but the service inside isn't actually running, or hasn't made it to the point where it's really accepting connections, even though it started listening on the ports. And so things break, like our tests, and that was one of them. So I went and put in a fix for that, where it just says, okay, just keep trying for like 10 tries or once the service is actually responsive, and then go ahead and continue on the test suite. So that seems to have fixed that issue. So that's good. The other thing that I did is one of our community members, Alermo, had put in a PR for archive extracted. There were some bugs they found in that. I think specifically that it was if you had a root directory in your archive, it would try and enforce group ownership permissions on your entire system. So that's not really desirable. So he had a fix in for that and some other issues that popped up. So I didn't write comprehensive test for that, but I did kind of write some very high levels, like here's how you can get started into actually writing some tests for this. And so hopefully those will be able to be added to that PR. I don't have that number right in front of me. I was looking for that, but it is vanished on me. So that's what I've been working on in the test clinic. And I am still working on getting the test working group back up and running. I'm expecting to have some more further announcements around that during the next open hour. So I think that's 2 weeks from today. But that's kind of it from the test perspective. So if there's no other questions.
When is the test working group?
I don't have
test?
any test. When is the test clinic or test?
Yeah.
working group? Test clinics are Tuesday afternoon and Thursday mornings on Twitch. That should be on the community calendar, but as we all know, the community calendar has been having some issues lately because, you know, our favorite Outlook.
They're currently there. I just checked. So
Okay.
they're there and they're there and they're good. And it looks like they're going to stay there. So just go to saltproject.io, look at the community calendar. It should be good. And if people are looking for that and they can't find it, hit me or hit Wayne on Slack or email us or whatever. We'll get you going.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Very good. I was hoping when you said that's it, Wayne, I was hoping you were going to say that's it from Rivendell there with the with the trees. You throw on some shimmery robes and I'm sold, dude. I'm telling you. All right, well let's wrap it up here with a joke from Mr. Werner.
So I've been listening to back issues of the Hacks podcast, trying to get all caught up on that, and there are lots.
Thank you, by the way.
Lots and lots of talking about Star Wars, of course. So I figured this one would be relatively appropriate, or inappropriate, who knows. How did Darth Vader know what Luke got him for Christmas? He felt his presence.
Bravo.
Yep.
Well done. Perfect for this week, I think.
May the 4th and the 5th be with you.
Indeed. All in favor of Star Wars Day becoming a national holiday on May the 4th, say aye. I think we vote that in. It's just me and Wayne. Oh, Shane. All right. That's good.
Aye.
All right. Good. That makes me happy. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another open hour. Again, we'll be back week after next. Wayne, thanks for the Twitch update. And hopefully we'll have onboarding updates and doc updates and all kinds of other fun stuff coming up for you a week after next. Until then, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.